Welcome to the St. Vrain Sports Report. Glad to have you along with us. We've got a lot to get to in this show as we continue our look at the fall sports season here in the St. Vrain Valley, including we're going to take a look at the teams in softball, soccer, and volleyball, as well as continuing our look at the area football teams by talking about Longmont, Niwot, and Silver Creek this week. We've also going to take a look at some of the big events coming up this week, later on this weekend as football kicks off, and we got Chad Parrish with our No Limits Sports Performance Tip of the Week. But first off, let's get it started with some softball. And, in this area, softball has generally been pretty good, and that looks to be the case again this year, starting with the Erie Tigers. As we know, Erie, one of the traditional powers in this state for a number of years in Class 3A. Now, as they've moved up to Class 4A, they continue to be a power in Class 4A, finishing as the state runner-up last year, losing to Wheat Ridge in the championship game. They won 20 games last year, including 14-0 in the Tri-Valley League. And they've got several returning starters back, including sophomore Rio Sanchez, a dynamic sophomore. So Erie should be good once again this year. Another team that should be very good is Frederick, Erie's big rival. They went 11-3 in the Tri-Valley League last year and returned 8 starters from that team. Bowed out early in the playoffs last year, but with Alex Dufour and all of those starters coming back, Frederick looks to have a very good season again this year. Longmont coming off a season where they went 7-11 a year ago under first-year coach Randy Woodson. He is now back for his second season. No seniors on that team, though, so could be kind of a tough year for the Trojans as they look towards next year, but hoping to get some wins and gain some valuable experience this season. Lions 5-15 a year ago. They've got a new coach, Amy Rinaldi. She comes over from Meade as she took that program to a pretty good season last year. Amy's got some good talent to work with, including sophomore Liz John Jack, so they should be hopefully an improved team this year. Meade, of course, has a new coach with Amy moving over to Lions. Amanda Macaluso is the new coach for the Mavericks. They finished 9-12 last year, still looking for their first winning season and lost some key seniors, but Tiana Harper, the catcher over there, she's a senior and should lead the Mavericks to hopefully lead them to a pretty good year this year. Niwot, in the championship game 2 years ago in Class 4A, 2012, finished a state runner-up. Last year fell back to 7-12, but this year they believe they've got a team that can get back to at least close to where they were 2 years ago. 7 returning starters for Bobby Matthews, so look for Niwot to be a lot better this year. And Skyline, 1-17 a year ago, but things are looking up for the Falcons. They moved down to Class 3A. They've had trouble competing in 4A. They're moving down to 3A this year, and they've got, I believe, 9 returning starters this year. So things looking up for the Falcons. And then, of course, Silver Creek, 15-8 a year ago. We've kind of grown used to the Raptors being a contender in the Northern Conference. They've got several starters back from last year, a team that went to the state tournament and lost to Erie, and we had a chance to catch up with the Raptors and find out about their upcoming season.
Yeah, our expectations are as they always have been here. Going on my 8th year here, we've been to the postseason every season in the state the last 4 years in a row, so our expectations are the same as they've always been, which is performing at a high level. One of our mantras here is the devil's in the details. So we hold athletes to a high standard, expect to strive for perfection, and that's what's made us competitive for the last 8 years. Every year your team takes on a different culture and you have to adopt a different style of play based on the personnel you have. We have a lot of new faces this season that are out, so several of them without a lot of varsity experience in young players. So as far as what our expectations are, we hold to our core values and then work with our players based on what abilities and skill sets we have out here year to year and go with a game plan based on how our makeup looks.
Some of the goals that Silver Creek has set this year is coming out here to practice and make sure that every practice is a good practice. We start with the small mechanics, the little plays, little steps, and we turn it into the bigger picture and the bigger plays. A lot of communication out here. We want to be able to have every girl with us and take them to regionals, take them to state. And we just got to start small, you got to work big. Successful season for Silver Creek is we want to make every game a better game than it was before and every practice a harder and better practice than it was before. We want to look back at it as making regionals one of the most memorable games, and if we make it to state, then that'll be the biggest game we play.
Well, obviously here we have high expectations that we've won 2 out of the last 4 conference titles, so we want to compete for a conference title, and the expectations are we go into the postseason and go deep. But day in, day out, the biggest rule of thumb we have is, it says it in our dugout, in fact, the will to win. And that's the will to win and then compete on the field and in the game of life. So everything here is about life skills. So at the end of the season, if we've competed and we've gotten better as citizens, as students, and as athletes. That's considered a success in my book.
Well, with the good teams over at Silver Creek, Erie, Frederick, Niwot, teams like that should be pretty good in softball in this area. Should also be pretty good in boys soccer. Let's talk about those teams real quick. Several teams looking to get back to the playoffs. Other teams trying to get back into the playoffs after missing it out last year. One of those teams is Longmont. Finished 7-8 last year in the first season under coach Mike DiGianardo, and he is back for his second season. They do have some good seniors back coming this year, so Longmont looking to get flip their record, 7-8 last year, looking to get on the winning side this year and get back into the playoffs. Niwot 11-4-1 last year. They've got 6 returning starters. They should be a contender for that Northern Conference title. It's kind of them and Centaurus. They're the top 2 teams coming into the season. Niwot lost in the second round of the playoffs last year, which is kind of an early exit for them, but they're looking for bigger things this year, so it should be fun to see how they do coming up this season. Silver Creek coming off a second round appearance as well. They went 10-6-1 a year ago, but they do have a young program. They've got a brand new coach and a lot of young players, but they have some good seniors, including Ryan Aragon, hoping to lead the way and get the Raptors back into the playoffs. Erie is a first-year program this year, and Frederick in its second year won a couple of games last year. So both of those programs trying to get off the ground. And you know, the girls program over at Frederick has done a good job. So hopefully the boys programs over at Erie and Frederick can get going here real soon. And then finally Skyline, 11-5 a year ago, undefeated in the Tri-Valley League, 10-0 in the conference, had just a great season last year, returned 8 starters from that team, but they lost in the first round. So kind of a disappointing end to their season. We were able to catch up with them as they talk about some bigger things ahead for them this year.
Last year was a great experience. We had a very successful, going 10-0 was just the result of the hard work and the dedication of the kids. We've been building up this program, and it's been a great experience just trying to get them to see where we're at and to still see what they could do this year with the 3 years that we've been building up and where we're at this point. I think in having a conversation with the boys, our goals are pretty much, we would like to repeat last year's if at all possible, but we're being ambitious and trying to see if we could reach the city championship. It's a huge step, it's a big jump from where we've been, but nonetheless we got the material, we have the human power hopefully, and it's just going to be a matter of dedication and focusing and putting all the effort into it. For this season, it'll be successful to see, first of all, that the kids have fun. Second, that the kids are doing what they need to do in order to improve themselves, not only as an athlete, but also as a person, as an individual, and more importantly, as a student. But more than anything, we would like to see all that, plus our main goal, which will be trying to get to the top,
All right, as Skyline looks to keep going in soccer, several volleyball teams are looking forward to good seasons as well this year. And let's talk about a few of them, starting with Erie. They were 9-13 a year ago and have 3 returning starters. So the Tigers kind of looking to improve upon that, maybe flip that record, get over to 13-9, and make some waves in the playoffs. Frederick, 19-6 a year ago. They have got a brand new head coach in Genova Morford, and this is her first season there. But for several years, you might remember her from leading Roosevelt to several Final Four appearances. So she's hoping to get that program, continue it to where they've been. And Frederick, you remember for a number of years, they struggled to win a game, but they have been one of the better programs in the area of late. And they have 8 seniors this year, so look for the Warriors to have a pretty good year. Lions, 17-10 last year. They have pretty much all their starters back, so looking for a good season this year again. Meade, 18-7 a year ago, have 3 returning starters, but a new head coach for the first time in their history. Rachel Ayers is no longer there. Nicole Nelson Tyson is there for her first year and hoping to lead the Mavericks, keep them going the way they've been going the last several years. Niwot, 18-7 last year. They also have 3 returning starters and looking to keep it going. And Silver Creek, 15-10 a year ago. And they also have a new head coach, and senior Elizabeth Potter, one of the better players in the area, is hoping to keep them on the winning side of things and get them back to the state tournament. Skyline, 4-19 last year. They've kind of struggled, but they've got almost their entire lineup back this year, so it should be fun to see the Falcons try to turn things around there. And then there's Longmont, 25-2 a year ago, 14-0 in the Northern Conference. We've known them for years under Coach Holly Stetson as one of the best programs in this area and in the state. They have got one of the best players in the state in Sydney Wetterstrom, just a junior, but they've also got a brand new coach. Holly is no longer there, and Tom Hunter is looking to take things over and keep the Longmont program going, and we're going to hear from him right now.
This being my first year here, I'm looking to just continue a great culture and great program that's already been here for a lot of years. Holly's done a great job of developing culture and developing a great set of kids, and I'm just looking forward to being able to add on to that. Spent a lot of time at a really high level, and just want to try to bring some of those technical pieces into this gym. Our goals are, I think, pretty simple. We're looking to win this conference again. We've been a little bit on the, I might say, dominant side, but they've done a really good job the last few years, and we're looking to continue that. Obviously, we graduated a big class last year. We are definitely younger than we have been in the past, but we're looking to continue a culture of strength. As the season wears on, what I like to see is I want us to be playing our best volleyball in October, the late October. We'll probably take a few lumps early because of our youth. But as the year wears on, we're just going to get better and better and better as the year wears on. I'll look back at the season and say it's a success if by the beginning of November, we're playing our very best volleyball.
Well, we've come to expect good things out of that Longmont volleyball program, and the same goes for their football program. And the Trojans, generally one of the better teams in the Northern Conference. And we're going to start our football look with the Trojans. Doug Johnson, in his 15th year as the head coach, he's won 100 games over there. He's done a pretty good job with that program. 7-3 a year ago, but the loss in the first round of the playoffs. So kind of a disappointing finish to their season, also a disappointing start to their season. This year, they're the only team in the area that has played so far. They lost last week to Pueblo East. So kind of a rough start for Longmont, but they've done this before, kind of lost one of these early season 0-week games and then gone on to have a pretty good season. They've got some great talent this year, including quarterback Clint Sig. Defensively, they've got to kind of shore some things up. But even though they've lost that opener, they're looking for some big things this year, and Coach Doug Johnson talked about that.
We had our first game in Pueblo, Friday night, Pueblo East. They give them a lot of credit. They did some great things. I felt that I did a terrible job getting our team ready across the board, and disappointed with some things that I saw. That being said, I love our team. I love our kids. Every year, our goal is to get in the playoffs. We'd like to compete in our league for a title and get in the playoffs and compete for a state title. And we feel like we have the talent to get that done this year. Well, I think success off the field circles around academics. And just having our kids do what they've been doing, and that is just being successful, coaches as well. And the on-the-field stuff, I think that translates into success on the field. And so we do merit playoffs with kind of a success bar for our team and our program.
While Longmont looks to continue their success, Niwot is looking to trying to build some success. And Josh Brewer, in his third year with that program, just 4-15 in his first 2 years as he's trying to get that thing rolling. But they've got some good talent, but some inexperience. But the Cougars, 2-7 last year, looking to kind of build upon some of the things they learned from last year and take it into some success this year. And the coaches talked about that.
Our goals for this season, last year the senior class came up with our mission statement for the year, which was Restore Cougar Pride. And the guys this year, they said, Coach, we never really got to that point where we restored that pride. The main goals, obviously we're trying to get more wins, we're trying to be more competitive, and we're trying to restore that Cougar pride. So we want to make sure that we're in the top half of the conference. And we always want to win the first game, we always want to win homecoming games. So if we can achieve those three things, that I think would be a success for the school and program. This year I think we have quite a handful of players to keep an eye on. Our offensive line and our defensive line right now seems to be our deepest position, which has been a negative in the Niwot programs of the past.
I think our biggest goal as a team is to restore the school pride we have in our football program.
Some lessons that we've learned are just battling adversity and just fighting through that and just trying to give it 100% every single time. Even if we're feeling down, we got to pick ourselves up.
I just want everyone that goes out in the field, whether they're senior, junior, freshman, I want them to go out as hard as they can and I want the team, the team bonding to be exceptional this year more than it was the past years.
Well, over the last 3 years, there hasn't been a better team in this area than Silver Creek. The Raptors, 3 consecutive state title game appearances, winning the championship in 2012. Of course, that was in Class 3A. They are now up to Class 4A. Coach Mike Apodaca in his 12th season, bringing the Raptors up to a level. It's going to be tough for them. They lost a lot of players from last year's team. Anthony Casper, a junior, one of the better players in the area, though, but he's got a lot of inexperience around them. It should be interesting to see how the Raptors do this year, and let's take a look at what they're expecting out of this upcoming season.
I mean, the reality is we want our kids to go compete hard, whether it's a scrimmage that we're about to partake in or, the inner-city game, a state championship. That's what you expect out of your kids. So those expectations haven't changed at all. And really, those are probably expectations we have for the season, is come out game by game, compete hard.
No, the expectations are still the same. We still strap it up the same as everyone else. The only thing that's different is we're going to be playing some new teams, so we just got to come focused every single day to practice and do what we've always done the past 3 years, get to the same place we have been. Even though we've lost a lot of players, we're still going to be fine this year because the coaches coach us up every year, the new guys. I mean, we have young guys looking like vets out there. It just looks the same every year because we know how to produce athletes in this program. Our coaches have it down.
You know what? That's the beauty of, I hope football in general, but maybe our program is that, you get kids to buy in early and they're ready when it's their turn. And if you've developed them, treated them right, then hopefully when they get that opportunity, they're ready to go.
Successful season for Silver Creek football is making it to the playoffs, making it deep into the playoffs, making a run, just like we have the past 3 years.
And go back to the original question, is that we competed hard every game. This game can change in a bounce of a thing, an injury. You just, so while you're out there, compete hard. And if we've given 100% effort after each game at the end of the season, I'll be completely satisfied with this group.
Well, it should be very interesting this year to see how the Raptors do as they move up to Class 4A and try to continue that run that they've been on for the last several years. Should also be interesting to see if Niwot can get things rolling and if Longmont can rebound from that opening game loss and have another good season as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the big events coming up this week as we get into the full swing of fall sports. Let's take a look at some big events coming up starting on Thursday in soccer. And Erie, that first-year program, that's a tough one at Skyline, who we talked about, one of the better teams in the area. That should be a tough test for Erie early on. Niwot hosts Valley in their season opener. That should be a good one. Then that softball tournament over at Erie, that's a great tournament, one of the better tournaments of the year, and it is right up here in our area. That's a good one to go check out some great softball this weekend. And in boys tennis, Silver Creek's going to open up with Pooter, so that should be fun to see them get going. And Silver Creek looking for some big things this year. In football, a lot of football coming up this week. Starting off with Silver Creek on Thursday night. Yeah, they're going to get going early against Discovery Canyon. That should be fun for them over at Everly Montgomery, and we'll find out very early how good that team is, or at least what kind of transition year it's going to be for them. Skyline and Niwot, that's the big one of the week over at Everly Montgomery on Friday night. Both those programs need a win. We talked about Skyline last week. Niwot, of course, trying to get things rolling. Both those teams need a win. That is a big game for both of those teams. Longmont Christian with a road game early on, and Lions with a big home game. That's always a fun one, the opener up in Lions. And then Erie they open up with Glenwood Springs at home. They have a new coach this year. And then Meade, as they try to recover from losing a bunch of good seniors, they go up to Sterling. That's never an easy trip, but that should be a fun game to kick things off. And then Frederick, they're looking for a good season this year. They will go up to Conifer on Saturday afternoon. So a lot of football this week. You didn't see Longmont on there. They played last week in that 0 week, taking this week off, and they will resume next week. But lots of football this week, and we're going to talk more about it next week. So stay tuned for next week, and we'll talk more about that. All right, we're up to the part of the show where Chad Parrish takes over. He's got our No Limit Sports Performance Tip of the Week. Chad, take it away.
Welcome back to the new school year, and we're back with the No Limit Sports Performance Tip of the Week. And this week we're talking about hip stability and hip strength, and what are a couple of really good exercises to develop that. The hips are extremely important in all athletics, especially sports where you have to get down into a squatting position or something like that. You want to make sure that the hips are nice and stable and strong so that they can stabilize the knees and ankles and everything down the kinetic chain to the ground. So I want to show you a couple of exercises here to try to help with that. This is what's called a mini band, and it's basically just an elastic band. And one of the exercises we do is to put this on your legs just below your knees, and then you're going to spread your feet out, push your knees out, squat down into a half to three-quarter squat position. You want to squeeze or activate your glutes or your rear end, and then from here you can move around. So you can take little steps going forward, little steps going backwards, sideways, sideways, the other way. And usually what we try to do is do a box where we'll take 5 steps forward, 5 steps to one side, 5 steps backwards, 5 steps to the other side, and then we make that little box like 3 times. By the time you get done with that, usually your hips are burning and you may be sore the next day.
All right, thank you very much to Chad Parrish, who always does a great job with his No Limit Sports Performance Program. Also want to thank the Longmont Athletic Club for sponsoring the show as always, and thank them for all that they do for us here over at Channel 8. Also, ask you to check out bocopreps.com for all the latest in high school sports, including all the football that's coming up this week. Also, like us on Facebook and check us out at www.longmontchannel.com, where you can watch this or any other programs you like here on Channel 8. Also want to thank Blaine Robinson and Jared Clifton for getting our video this week, and producer-director Don Gurton. We cannot do the show without all of their behind-the-scenes work. And as always, I want to thank you for watching and look forward to seeing you again next week.